Are ghosts real or not? People who believe in ghosts often share stories that are spiritual in nature and somewhat fictional. On the other hand, skeptics haven't been able to prove that ghosts don't exist either. This question has sparked debate for many years, even within the scientific community. A Scottish doctor named Duncan MacDougall from Haverhill, Massachusetts, was one of the people who believed in the existence of the soul. In 1907, he decided to try to prove that ghosts were real. All he needed was someone willing to pass away in front of him, and a few dogs. MacDougall's idea was quite simple. He believed that if the soul was a real entity, it must have mass, and therefore could be measured. According to his hypothesis, a part of the soul would leave the body upon death to go elsewhere, but it wouldn't be realistic if that mass was too large to be weighed. So, the only and best way to prove his theory was to weigh a person at the exact moment before death and immediately after. The difference in weight, he believed, would help determine the mass of the soul. MacDougall sought volunteers who were willing to pass away under his supervision. He needed them to die in absolute stillness, without causing the scale to shake, as any movement could render the measurements useless. Naturally, such a delicate task wasn't suitable for ordinary individuals. He chose patients who were terminally ill, typically those suffering from advanced tuberculosis or similar diseases, because their bodies were so weakened that they could not move or react strongly. To conduct the experiment, he set up a bed securely placed on an industrial scale, with a sensitivity of around 5 to 6 grams. As soon as a volunteer was nearing death, they would be placed on this bed. Some rumors claim that MacDougall forced the volunteers to have all bodily orifices sealed to prevent fluids from leaking out and affecting the results. However, this was not true. MacDougall himself had considered this issue. But in essence, any fluids released would still remain on the bed, so they wouldn't affect the overall measurement. That was the theory. But the actual experiment didn't go as expected. MacDougall wrote in a report about the failed trials, "Unfortunately, our scale was not sensitive enough, and there were some interferences from the observers. In one case, the patient died before the scale was properly set up. However, there was one case in which the subject noticeably lost weight at the exact moment of death, specifically 21.3 grams. Another subject lost 14 grams just before being declared dead, then lost an additional 42.5 grams. A third case showed a slight drop in weight, followed by a slight gain shortly after, although the fluctuation wasn't as significant as the previous two." At this point, many might think that what MacDougall discovered was simply due to a faulty scale. But overall, the doctor still believed he had truly proven the existence of the soul. Yet the story doesn't end there. As a scientist, MacDougall knew he needed to conduct a controlled experiment, and this time he chose dogs as his subjects. He selected 15 healthy dogs for the experiment, and since it was difficult to make dogs lie still, he decided to take matters into his own hands. The idea behind this experiment was that animals don't have souls, so when they die, there should be no loss in weight. But just imagine 15 dogs killed to prove they had no souls. It's no wonder this sparked outrage. According to MacDougall's report, none of the dogs used in the experiment showed any change in weight whatsoever. MacDougall's results were heavily criticized by experts for containing numerous flaws, particularly due to his lack of transparency in data collection. The doctor himself admitted that determining the exact moment of death was extremely difficult. Moreover, any weight changes in the very small sample size of his experiment could have been caused by shifts in body temperature, leading to excessive sweating. Meanwhile, Dogs don't have sweat glands, which means they're less likely to lose weight in that way. In the end, MacDougall's experiment likely didn't prove whether ghosts are real or not. In fact, many cultures around the world believe and even build upon stories of souls surviving death and existing in another realm. Ghosts and spirits are among the most widely accepted mystical phenomena worldwide, with millions of people believing they are real. A 2019 Ipsos survey showed that 46% of Americans say they truly believe in the existence of ghosts. Of those, 18% claim they have seen or encountered a ghost. So, what are ghosts? From a scientific perspective, it's undeniable that throughout human history, or even in the life of a single person, strange phenomena can occur that are surprising and inexplicable. These could range from simple occurrences like doors closing by themselves, objects disappearing, sudden temperature changes in certain places, to the appearance of deceased loved ones before one's eyes. Therefore, there are always certain challenges in assessing the existence of ghosts from a scientific perspective. According to Professor Stephen Hupp, a clinical psychologist at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, many phenomena are often misunderstood as being caused by ghosts. One of these is sleep paralysis, also known as the feeling of being pressed down. This is a phenomenon that has been scientifically proven and acknowledged. However, long before science recognized it, people believed it was the result of being haunted by a ghost or demon. Additionally, there are many inherent contradictions in the concept of ghosts. For example, are ghosts made of matter? Can they pass through solid objects? According to logic and basic physical laws, the image of ghosts, if they truly exist, seems to contradict everything we know. For instance, if ghosts are the souls of humans, why do they appear with clothing and inanimate objects like hats, canes, skirts, and so on? Or, if ghosts can communicate with humans, why don't the souls of those who have been murdered try to contact the police to identify the murderer or clear someone's name? With so many contradictory basic theories, very few scientific topics address ghosts. However, science does not deny the existence of ghosts and souls. On the contrary, many statements suggest that ghosts may exist, but if they cannot be detected or manifest in a way that we can see, then all images, videos, and sounds cannot be considered evidence of ghosts. In other words, ghosts can be seen as a subject that science has not yet been able to provide an answer to. According to Professor Stephen Hupp, one common cause of belief in ghosts is the pareidolia syndrome. This is a phenomenon where people tend to perceive or impose a meaningful explanation onto a vague image, making it appear as an object, pattern, or something with specific significance. A common example is when we see faces or human-like figures in clouds, bushes, or in a dark room. Additionally, belief in the spirit world may also be a psychological response to certain needs, Professor Stephen Hupp stated. This universe still holds many things we don't understand, and some people may feel comfortable filling that gap with explanations about the supernatural world. Supernatural explanations are often offered with great confidence, even when there is no concrete evidence, and this confidence can create a false sense of reality. If ghosts are real and are a type of energy or some unknown entity, then their existence, like all other scientific discoveries, will be uncovered and verified by scientists through controlled experiments, Professor Stephen Hupp concluded. The last thing you would want to hear about ghosts is their existence based on someone's account, but with no scientific evidence. Additionally, paranormal phenomena could be the result of larger issues in our brains, specifically the gray matter. For some people, hearing voices or experiencing strange images could be an early sign of conditions such as schizophrenia. For those who have suffered the loss of a loved one, the longing for their presence can cause the brain to call. their souls as a way to cope with psychological trauma. This leads to vivid encounters between the living and the souls, something that psychologists refer to as after-death communication. So what about you? Do you believe that ghosts truly exist? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to follow our upcoming videos.